So you went down to North Carolina.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
North Carolina was great. We participated in the Hellenic Dance Festival. Just so everybody knows, Stacy and I are members of the Pan Macedonian Dance Group here in Philadelphia. We practice at St. George and Media. We're there every Monday night. But, HDF was a tremendous experience for us because we're very passionate about what we do with our dance group. And then being able to go out there and perform live on stage in front of a panel of judges, all the work and research and everything we put into, it almost felt like we were participating in like a sport of some sort.
Yeah. Well, it kind of is.
In a sense, it is. There's a lot of conditioning that goes into it.
Competition,
yeah. Making sure everything we're doing is correct and precise. Yeah.
So I'm here with Steve Pilidis and Stacy Karagiorgos, right? Perfect. First of all, introduce yourselves, how you guys would like.
Sure. My name is Steve Pilidis. Pretty involved in our community over here. I'm the dance instructor for the Pan Macedonian Youth Dance Group. Involved with our society, all of our churches around here for a large part of my life. And then we have Stacy Karagiorgos over here. She's one of our veteran dancers as well as members of our youth community with the Pan Macs. And it really is awesome having her with us and giving her insight and 2 cents on a lot of things that we do. And I really appreciate the fact that she's with us here today.
All right, thank you for coming, guys. I appreciate it. So first off, what is it like? How would you categorize being Greek? Like if there was a way to describe being Greek to the audience that's not Greek and doesn't understand the culture, and how would you guys describe it?
Well, it's funny because, you don't necessarily think on that until it's actually asked of you.
Yeah,
and it's almost like...
Because it's natural. It's who you are.
It's second nature. It's just who you are. It's how we were brought up. Everything from when you wake up in the morning, when you come home at night, it's those little things that we don't really think about. It's just part of everyday life. How you address your parents, your grandparents, your siblings, everybody around you. And, what might seem like normal to us, to people outside of our culture and community, totally different, which is pretty interesting.
I mean, in school, I remember it being, my title was the Greek one.
Really?
I didn't go to a school that
They
had
called me
a lot
Mexican.
I didn't have too many Greek people, if any, really going to my school, so people just assumed it was my personality to
The
be
Greek
it.
girl.
Right, that's it.
I'm half Puerto Rican, half Greek, but they didn't know me as Puerto Rican or Greek. Despite there being no Greeks and not really any Puerto Ricans, they called me Mexican because I was very dark, dark. So, but anyways, so we have a couple of things I want to discuss with you.
Sure.
First of all, so we talked about what it's like being Greek, but what's it like being a Greek American?
So you kind of are walking a fine line because I think that, Stelios Kazadzidi had a pretty good song about that where, and every Greek American always quotes this one. And essentially what he says in English is, in America, to everybody else, I'm Greek, but in Greece, I'm American.
I know.
It's
true.
You're walking a thin line with that, so you're kind of like a hybrid, so to say. But that's pretty much the sum of that whole feeling. Like where do you necessarily belong? Because you go to school, like Stacy says, and there's only so many of us. I was fortunate enough when I was in high school that
you had a lot.
We had a lot.
Dude, I had zero. I had like 2 people, but they weren't really like Greek, or they didn't like. They were just like Americanaki, like.
I feel like how all of it was Greek. I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, when I was in school, we had a whole Greek community there. All of us. They were either playing soccer or cutting school and not being there.
Doing some not good stuff.
That's just the way it was then.
Yeah,
so,
I know.
What can you say? And, it was really cool because if we wanted to, we kind of just knew that if there's something we wanted to get off our chest, we didn't necessarily want to say it in English. We kind of just said it in Greek to one of our buddies.
It's like a secret code type thing.
Yeah. What's going on? And you go, what did you say? What did you say?
Yeah.
But, you never tell them. But, of course, everybody knew how to say malaka. That was the easy one.
Everyone does.
Everybody. That's now universal language. I don't even think Greeks own it anymore.
Greek 101?
101.
So, do you guys still go back to Greece, and how often do you guys go? if you do go?
I try to go at least once a year, maybe twice a year.
Twice a year.
I'm right there with Stacy. It's either once or twice a year. Last year, unfortunately, I didn't make it. Had a few things taking place, but I couldn't make it. The year prior, I went twice. I'm hoping this year I can get at least once or twice in as well. And moving forward, the same. I like that to be the consistency.
I like to. It's just hard, man. Family, everything. Like this summer, I didn't get to go. The summer before I went, but it's very hard. But yeah,
We try to plan our
Responsibilities.
whole year to
Around
make
that.
sure that we
That's
go.
perfect.
It's like
That's how
a
it should be
priority.
done. You know what I mean? I always tell people, like friends, whatever the case is, I'm like, look, you know what America is like. Expand your horizons a little bit. Instead of taking trips here, like you can if you want, but save that money and maybe go overseas, go to Greece. And then obviously I have a little bias for that. But then
course.
I'd be like, go to Italy as well, go to Spain. You went to Spain recently. How would you compare Spain's culture to Greece?
It's actually very similar.
Yeah.
Very, very similar. They definitely have more, I would say, they went through like an era that we kind of skipped. So they have more of like, everything's just a little bit cleaner, neater, more organized, a little bit.
A little bit.
A little bit.
Not too much. Don't give them too much credit.
They had the whole Renaissance and castles everywhere. We don't really have that.
Yeah, like the Gothic
Right.
type
we
thing.
just
yeah.
skipped all that, unfortunately.
I feel like Italy has that.
Yeah.
We kind of missed out a little bit, which is a little weird, but
I wouldn't know. See, Stacy's way more versed in world travel than I am.
Really?
I just do here in Greece.
Greece.
Yeah. I don't even.
That's all you need.
That's all I need. I don't even count going to Canada as traveling. It's just
Dude,
America Junior.
I've
over
never
there.
been.
Never been to Canada.
I've never been to Canada. What's it like?
It's a more polite America.
Really?
Yeah.
Is
Very
it
nice.
is it cleaner?
Some
it-
aspects, yes.
Yes.
Is it like
I mean, Toronto.
Less-
Toronto felt just like downtown Philly.
really?
Yeah, I didn't really
Just felt
feel
like
much
you're in another
difference.
state, yeah.
Do they speak a lot of French over there?
Where we were in Toronto, they didn't really speak much French. But if you go north more to like Montreal,
They speak
they're
French.
Montreal's
speaking some French
all
over there.
French.
Yeah?
Even their stop signs.
Yeah.
Really?
are
Yeah.
French
Wow.
language,
Yeah, I've never been. I always wanted to, but I don't know. I'd rather go other places.
Well, we're supposed to be going in May for another dance workshop.
Really?
So I don't know.
Uh-oh,
You wanna come
May.
Perfect your skill.
Oh man, I don't know. I got a lot of work to do. I went like once or twice, but you know what I mean? Not the
It's
best.
only to learn.
I know.
Learn.
I know.
It's always
I
a
know.
good
I know.
time.
Well, I got to start coming a little bit more every Monday.
Yeah.
So, talk about that. Every Monday, what do you guys do?
Every Monday, these poor guys, they have to put up with me. You know? No, but we get together on Mondays, and when it's not competition time, practice is pretty lighthearted. We just try to have fun, participating in what we're doing with our culture, just dancing, doing whatever. Last night we had a really good practice. I kind of was just rotating everybody out of like different positions that we're like comfortable in, putting them up front, letting them have fun, and just kind of express themselves through their dancing skills, and then perfect those skills as well. And not for nothing, I think also taking someone who's a little bit more shy and timid and not necessarily want to be the center of attention and thrusting them into that role, it definitely builds confidence in an individual. And I like that as well. And then when everybody that you're there with is cheering you on and hyping you up, but that's essentially the essence of it all as well. It's an expression of friendship, gratitude of being with one another, your culture, and enjoying it. There's that commonality that we all have there. And I love watching it. I love seeing everybody do it.
It's deeper than dancing.
It's
You know
way
what I mean?
deeper than dancing.
Yeah, it's the relationships, the culture, and what we do together. It's the community. Absolutely. You know what I mean? All right. So, one thing real quick. Hold the
All right.
mic up a little bit for both of you.
Holding it up.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You got it.
So, we have a couple things in which I also want to talk about.
Lay it on us.
You talked about everybody having different names in school.
Sure.
What was that like? Did you have a different name as well? Or was it just Stacy?
I mean,
Or
my
Greek girl.
my Greek name is Anastasia.
Oh, okay.
But
Everyone called you Stacy.
I don't know. Ever since I was young, everyone just started calling me Stacy. Even people in Greece call me Stacy.
Really?
No one calls me Anastasia.
Wow, that's interesting. How about you?
Man, my Greek name is
Yeah.
Evstathios. So good luck
Perfect.
with that one. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. I don't even think Greeks know how to say it. They're like, what?
Wait, huh? What's going on?
Yeah. How I ended up with Steve is still a mystery to me. There's a few different stories, but yeah.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
So you just there's a couple different stories you don't know.
Don't know. Still trying to figure that one out. Piece it all together.
That's kind of like me. So my name is Matttheo. Middle name is Fanis, right? So my grandfather's name was Theophanes. But my mom wants to name me Matthew. Obviously, my dad wants to name me after my grandfather. So
Sure.
they kind of mixed it. So it's Mattheo, and then middle name Fanis, and then obviously last name Maltepes. But nobody said my name right in school.
Yeah. Well, the last name was impossible. No one could say.
The last name impossible, first name impossible, everything was impossible. They didn't know how to say my name, so they called me Matteo, which is very close to Matt, but still, like I was so shy in school growing up, as a kid, first grade, second grade.
You were shy, and now you're out here doing a podcast?
Dude, I was known as the quiet kid in school. I swear, I was known as the quiet kid
I
in
was
school.
too. I was.
You were too?
He
Yeah.
definitely was not.
You weren't
Well,
extrovert.
It depends on the situation. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was somewhat extroverted.
Yeah.
And then I don't know what happened. I became just like super extroverted.
extra.
Extra.
Super.
Super, yes.
Yeah, but I had the
I
same
know I
thing.
drive her crazy sometimes with my...
Every Monday?
but I think every day of the week.
Yeah.
That's good. So we talked about the names, right? And now let's talk about the Greek school and the Greek church.
Oh, yeah.
Tell us about that.
Well, my mom's family was very religious.
Yes.
And we were in church every Sunday. That's good. You know, when you're younger, don't really understand a lot of what's going on.
Oh,
you're
you
kind
don't
of just
at all.
like, oh, here we go, going through the motions. Stand up, sit down, stand up, sit down. You know, then the priest would come out, you know, doing his thing. Make sure, you know, you bow your head, do your cross and whatever. But then, you know, it was fun because, like, you know, for us guys, I know it wasn't really the good opportunity for the girls, but for us guys, we all became altar boys. So really what we did is just kind of go in the back, goof off, eat bread, and then,
Yeah. We
you
didn't
know,
have that.
the girls didn't really have the opportunity to do that. And, man, you know, we were in church and teenagers, gosh, I don't know who's going to hear this, but I remember one year on Easter, we were
no.
bored sitting there waiting. I'm not going to say where, but we found a few extra bottles of wine, so we cracked those
Oh,
open,
boy.
and we were drinking through the Easter service. I think I was 14 years old sitting there. I'm not saying where.
Oh, okay.
I'm not saying
let's
where.
let's
Nor
leave
deny.
that part
I'm
out.
not saying where, but it was kind of interesting. We got bombed, and we were sitting there holding candles, swaying back and forth. And I remember how it went. A few of the older ladies were like, "Oh wow, look at these boys! They're praying and they're so into it."
Oh,
They had no.
I never heard this
idea.
story. I never heard this
well,
story.
I'm giving it to you. I was saving it for the
I
Maltepes
know.
report.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah, that was an interesting time. That was an interesting time.
What's it like being an Orthodox Christian?
So again, I think when you come back to it and you look at it when you're younger, you don't really understand.
Don't know, yeah.
You don't really understand. But the word itself, Orthodox, it carries a heavy meaning. And to being an Orthodox Christian and understanding the roots of Orthodoxy and what comes with it is understanding that the Orthodox Church was the first church, the original church, founded by Jesus Christ. So I'm not saying that we're above or better or whatever, but it's the purest form of praising Jesus Christ and being a Christian. At least in our eyes. Everybody has their own opinion. I don't want to start a holy war over here, but yeah. And understanding that, you know, and you think about it, right? Like in the Catholic Church, Easter's a fixed date every year, but with the Orthodox Church, we follow a different calendar, so it's always fluctuating and changing.
This year it's actually the same day.
It is the same year. It is the same year, so that's gonna be fun. Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
So what I always say is Jesus left the church before the Bible was finalized and written and
Correct.
everything. And the Orthodox Church, they try to keep the traditions alive of everything, whereas other religions, in my opinion, they kind of got off the path a little bit. So that's how I see it. But how do you see it?
I mean, to touch on the previous thing that you asked, I went to Greek school not for too long because then we ended up moving to Greece for a couple years. In Greece, because you're going to Greek school, you actually have class. You have Christianity as class, and it's mandatory.
So how was it living in Greece? How long were you there?
4 years,
4 years. How old were you?
7 to 11.
Oh, wow. That's like developing, until you're a teenager, like right there. How was that?
Definitely different. I would say better in, believe it or not, education was more advanced, I think.
That's interesting.
Because by the time I got here, I was doing 7th grade math, 5th grade, so.
Being in like 5th grade, yeah. So you're 2 grades above,
Yes.
basically.
They teach you in a very different way. Also, there's no lockers or recess or really anything like that. You kind of just go to school, have lunch at your desk. The teachers change. You just stay in the same seat all day, and then you leave. And then pretty much after school activities is what they would do here would be like Greek anything, Greek dance, Greek basketball. We would just, go out. We would just go meet up at the park or go hang out at each other's houses or just go out because you could go out and you'll be safe. Everything's fine there.
Did you ever live in Greece?
I did not.
No.
I did not. I have very many friends over there.
You do?
I do. A lot of friends over there. Good friends that I knew from going in the summer and hanging out and, spending our critical years together from teenagers all the way up to being grown men. Actually a guy that I, met when I was a teenager now. We're almost in our 40s now at this point, and he just told me the other day he got engaged, and it was a wonderful thing, and I was very happy for him. It was beautiful. It was beautiful to hear everything, and we still keep in touch. But no, I didn't grow up there, but my
Your heart's
friendships
there.
are there.
Yeah, friendship's there.
My heart's there. My friendship is there, and it's great.
So speaking back on what we talked about, Greek school, all that, whatever the case was. When I would go to school, people would ask me, what's your religion, whatever the case is. As kids, I'm in 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, whatever. And they'll talk about CCD or something.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah,
All
and
the
I used
kids
to
would go to that.
And then they used to ask me what I am. I'm like Greek Orthodox, and they just like stare at me like I was crazy. They had no idea what that was. But I had no idea what the CCD was. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It was totally different.
I had a few kids come up to me. They're like, "Oh, you're Orthodox? What does that mean? You pray to Zeus?" I'm like, "No."
Someone actually asked you that?
Yeah,
Really?
they did. And then, it was funny because it was at the Greek affair at St. Luke's, and they're like, "Oh, do you guys pray to Zeus?" I'm like, "You see the cross on the top of the building, bud?"
Yeah, people were
Yeah.
kids, man, kids.
Kids,
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I guess because I knew what it was, I said, how do you not understand?
Yeah.
So, that's all right.
All right, so you talked about Greek in your 20s, and then Greek in your 30s. You talked about this beforehand with me. Tell me about that, Greek in your 20s, Greek in your 30s, and the difference.
Well, to get into what it was like being Greek in my 20s, I got to go back to my late teens, 16, 17, 18, the end of my high school career. That's about when I started dancing with the Pan Macedonians.
So that was the start, the
That
beginning.
was the start, actually. And I got to give credit where it's due. One of my first Greek dance teachers, who's still a Greek dance teacher today, Agnula Markandonis, she really got me involved in Greek dancing. And I owe a lot of where I'm at today because of her. And, she brought me in and she introduced me to a whole group of people who I now am, family with, a lot of them. Because it's either we became Kubari, for those people who don't understand, it's I'm the best man in the eyes of the church. I did, the crowns, the rings, and everything. And, people that I've made amazing relationships with. So when that door was opened up to me by Agnula and I came in, I met, a tremendous amount of people. And then Dancing with Macedonians, we were traveling, we were going all over the United States performing, and it was great. So then in my 20s, now I kind of refound myself, because when you're a teenager, as it is,
Yeah,
you're
you're still
confused,
searching.
you're trying to figure out where you're at,
Who you are.
you have no idea. But now, in my 20s, I had a home base. I knew what I was. I knew what my cultural identity was. So from there, figuring out my personality really wasn't that hard. And I had a group of people who were essentially doing the same thing as me. And I was actually the young guy then. Everybody else was a few years older than me. So I kind of was just tagging along, following them, And it was kind of cool, being the young guy, hanging out with the older guys, going into the clubs with them, or whenever we were traveling and in a hotel room,
Having
hey man,
fun.
drink this.
That's perfect.
It was really cool. So it kind of started to mold me into being a more passionate person about my culture. And because it gave me so much, it helped paint a picture as to who I wanted to be then kind of going into my 30s, which I loved, being able to do all these amazing things. I had my culture, I had my personality, I had my individuality, and it was very accepting, and everybody else around me was very accepting. And like we said earlier, with everybody kind of hyping each other up in the dance circle, but take away the whole dancing aspect of it, there were all these people who cared about me and cheered me on along the way, and I loved it, and it was great. You felt secure.
Support.
Correct.
How important is that support?
The support is huge. Knowing that you have people that can relate to what you're going through, no matter what it might be, and you don't have to kind of like explain all the minute details. It's really, really good. I loved it, and it felt great.
Well, I know my experience, right? Going to school early on, K through 12, whatever you want to call it. I noticed since there were no Greeks like in the school and there weren't many Puerto Ricans, I had no one to relate to.
Right.
And I felt like an immigrant, you know what I mean? Full of a whole bunch of everybody else. And I felt like there was no one to relate, and I didn't really have those connections in which, like, that's why I was a quiet kid. I didn't fit in, whatever the case is. I felt out of place.
Right.
So how did that feel? I know you talked about it. You were with a whole bunch of Greeks, so it must have been different experience.
Oh, yeah.
But with you, how did you feel? Did you feel out of place?
Definitely. I was put in ESL the moment we got here. Even though
I was in one of.
English
I was too.
I don't know. The moment that I was in ESL, it definitely made me realize that I was different compared to everybody else. Also, I did have some non-Greek friends, so whenever they would do something, like do a sleepover or something, my parents obviously would not let me do that.
Yeah, we weren't allowed to do that.
I didn't sleep over at anyone's
We
house.
weren't allowed to do the sleepover.
I didn't sleep over
I
at
could
anyone's
only
house.
do that with Greek people.
That's perfect.
Yeah, that's it. Greek people, cousins, that was it.
I didn't like sleeping over at anyone's house. It became to a point where I didn't do it, I think, so much that I just didn't like it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It felt like weird to be over someone else's house and like sleep over. I was like,
It's definitely an experience. I eventually got to do it just because she kind of gave up and she's like, okay, fine.
You asked so many times.
Yeah. But it took a long time for her to say yes. Yeah. And it's not anything crazy, but you do feel like you're missing out when everybody else is off doing stuff. And it's just like the movie. I'm starting to realize it. It's crazy. Everyone's eating sandwiches and she's eating pasticcio.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
But you know what the funny part about it all was? Like, while they were like having sleepovers and just like, doing like whatever things they were doing, I mean, we were going to AC for like Greek concerts.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and we were going to the
I've never been to a Greek
clubs
concert
or whatever.
It's fun.
I wish there was like a Greek, Greek nights somewhere in the city. I don't know of any Greek
There
nights.
used to be
I
more
know,
often.
there used to be.
I mean, when I was growing up,
know.
we had them. I was working at them.
My cousin tells me about them. Alicia.
Yeah, Alicia was coming there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, now they're kind of doing them.
Coming
but
back?
They're trying to come back, yeah.
Where?
Yeah.
No answer.
So
Parean
por todas.
Okay, yeah, I've seen that. I've seen
They
that.
they do an awesome get together, which is
yeah.
great. But Cafe Zesty and Manny Young, they have live music all the time.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fun.
Yeah. I've seen it on socials and everything. Yeah.
And friends of ours who are musicians go and play. Cafe Band, you get Ticos and Cafe Band, shout out,
Shout out.
available for weddings and baptisms.
Shout it all out. We'll put it in a link in the bio, everything.
Absolutely. And Stacy knows, like, I played some music, some music. I wasn't a guitarist or a music player, anything. All my friends were the real musicians.
Yeah.
I just kind of like did some percussion, like little drum
brought
here or
the
there.
energy.
The drums.
I was a hype man. I was a
You
hype
brought
man.
the energy. You got things
Yeah.
going.
I still got paid like a musician, which
That's
is nice.
that's what matters.
Yeah.
That's what matters.
But still, either way, seeing some of these guys who are a little bit younger than I am, going out there, learning how to play Greek music and playing and singing and holding it down at a club all night, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It hypes me up.
Not just that, when we had Goya dances, we would dress up. We would go hard. And I would have all these like people from school be like, "Why are you always dressing up? I want to come too." Well, you can't.
You're not allowed.
You're
Not allowed.
But that's part of it, right? Part of feeling out of place, because you connect so much on this and the culture, whatever the case is, tradition. And then you go to school and it's totally different.
Yeah.
It's totally different. So talk about tradition, right? So Greece, obviously, they talk about how it's the bedrock of West society and Western civilization. And, you know, we've contributed a lot to the world, our ancestors, and there's actually a page you've seen it, Greeks invented everything, right?
Yeah.
So anyways, so there's a lot of different things, but you two, you hold down the tradition, you hold down the legacy, you bring it forward to the next generation and everything. So tell us about that, the Greek traditions, different ones, whatever the case is.
I think with regards to holding on to the traditions is, I know when I was, and I talk about when I was younger, we kind of were in that mix. Like I was saying earlier, it's like, are we Greek or are we American? So it was a little like frustrating at first. But what I've noticed is that there's been a real big shift with some of the younger generations, and now these traditions that we were like, we got to go do this, we got to go do that. It's now becoming like something fun.
Yeah.
I know this Thursday, right? Thursday, I believe, is Chiknopemti.
Yes.
This Thursday. Chiknopemti is essentially the last Thursday before Lent begins. Yes. So, you know, it's to kick off Lent. Lent is supposed to be
You're closer with God.
Closer with God.
You should be reading.
On the soul.
Yeah, it is.
You give up a lot of the things.
Whatever you would do.
Fast, yeah. You give up those things that, you know, that you crave, whether it be, you know, nutrition or spirituality, whatever it might be, and you prepare yourself for the resurrection of Jesus Christ. So Chiknopemti, you know, growing up, it was like, we're just going to eat a lot of meat this night, whatever. But, you know, when you look what happens is in Greece, Chiknopemti, everyone's barbecuing, playing music, drinking, they're having a great time. Actually, where Stacy's from, Nausa, they have a huge event for Apokrias where, again, the tradition, you know, they dress up, they wear the mask, everything, and they go to the town hall. And there's a whole tradition behind that. That could be a whole other podcast in itself.
It could.
But these traditions now that we were like, why do I got to learn this in Greek? We're like, this is awesome. We want to participate. We want to do this. And we have fun doing it.
Well, it's different when you're younger.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you mature, you realize things, you realize how important these traditions are, whatever the case is. And when you're young, you're not fully developed, whatever the case is. You don't understand things, right? And now, like, I look forward to fasting. I look forward to fasting. I look forward to all these different things. And now Easter has become my favorite holiday. Of course, growing up, it was Christmas because, you know, you think whatever as a kid, you get the presents, the gifts. But now to me, like, obviously I love Christmas, but Easter, like, I love it, right? It's amazing to me.
Easter was always a big deal because of my name. That's my name day. That's my papu's name day. That was our day. And just even doing the cookout is a tradition. The eggs are a tradition. Going to see family is a tradition. I mean, family that you don't end up seeing for months, even years sometimes, you gather for that specific holiday.
Talk about name days, right? You mentioned it. Most people don't know what a name day is. Tell the audience what a name day is for everyone that's not Greek or whatever the case is.
Well, your name day, when you're a Greek Orthodox Christian, you're giving a name at the time of your baptism. You're supposed to be given a name at the time of your baptism after a certain patron saint. Well, in some cases, you know, most cases nowadays, you're named after one of your parents, so your grandparents. But at the time of your baptism, your godparent is supposed to present your name to the priest, and then you are baptized, you're anointed with the oils and the holy water. But then your name, like my name, Evstathios, Stacy's name, Anastasia, her Anastasi, the resurrection of Jesus Christ, her name day will always be on Easter Sunday. My name day is September 20th, Aios Evstathios, Saint Evstathios. Not as popular as Stacy's name day,
People
but
remember yours though.
yeah. Some people remember
do.
mine. Some
They
people
overlook
do.
mine every single time.
Some people do.
You get overshadowed a little bit.
Yeah, because it's Easter. No one cares
But,
about your name.
but the name day is the celebration of the day that is dedicated to your patron saint. So that's how it is.
That's another thing, right? So you talk about name days. Kids growing up, they don't know what that is. When it comes to Easter, it's a different day usually. Don't know what that is. You're not celebrating Easter on this day. What's going on? Like, or you're a little weird. Oh, it all contributes.
Yours is your middle name is Fani for Theophani, so
yeah.
ta Theophania.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what? There's actually, because so you have January 6th, right?
Yeah.
But then March, what is it? March. Hold on, I have it on my calendar. I think I have 2 different name days.
It depends on
Like,
what your grandparent was
Right.
named.
Yeah, I know.
I know people with the same name as me, and they celebrate. I forget when it is though.
Yeah, I
A
know.
random day.
I
Or you could be named Cosma and have one of 4 different.
Yeah, that too.
That's what I was mentioning. Yeah, but it's
4.
just very interesting.
My cubaro's name is Cosma, and I text him 4 times a year to tell him Happy Name Day or Reina Pola, and he's like, not today, not
That's
today.
hilarious.
I said, you know what, just mark the calendar for all 4. Let me know then.
So you guys talked about where you guys were from, right?
Right.
A little bit. Touch upon that, right? Where are you from? He mentioned it, but just
In
said
Greece?
yes.
Okay, so my dad's side,
Oh.
we're actually from the same area, half. So my
So is he.
dad's
Yeah, I am
side.
too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We're from Katarini. I'm technically from a Choryo outside of Katarini.
This is
He's
me too.
Actually from Katarini. It's called Makriyarlo. And then my mom's side is from Nausa. We don't actually. It's a Choryo outside of Nausa called Copano, and they met somewhere near my mom's area, and the rest is history. And here I am.
Katarini.
So my father was born in Katerini. My grandfather
Shout out
was
George
born-
Pilidis.
Yeah. What's up, Dad? Yeah. My father was born in Katerini. My grandfather was actually born in Drama. They
didn't know
were
that.
refugees when the Turks expelled all the Christians, Greeks, Armenians, everybody out of Turkey, which is now Turkey. And they were sent over into Greece in the population exchange. So my grandfather was born in Drama. Then World War II took place. Obviously, when the Germans, Bulgarians,
Nazis,
everybody
yeah.
came down, they moved down. They were in Katerini. My grandfather stayed there. Met my grandmother. My father was born in Katerini. On my mother's side, we are from a little Choryo outside of Ioannina. Actually, the next Choryo over from Dodoni. So if you know where Dodoni is and you get all the feta cheese, it's the next one over.
So, touch upon that. Our parents, our grandparents came to America for a better life, right? With that being said, was there ever a thought or desire to go back
Yes, we did that.
and live there? I know you
Mistake,
did for a little
came
bit.
back.
Mistake? As you get older, do you feel like you want to do something like that? Would you?
I would. I just want to be financially very, 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 very okay to do that. Because I don't want to be struggling. Because it's a shame. All the people there are struggling every day to make ends meet. And I don't want to live like that.
Youth unemployment's so high. You've got a lot of different things, right, going on. GDP to debt ratio. But how about you? Because everyone has a different perspective, right?
Right.
I've met some people, they'll be like, no, the goal is to go back. And not many people will share that sentiment, but I'm interested to hear you.
Well, fortunately enough, I'm a Greek citizen. Me and my brother
That's
we
awesome.
both became Greek citizens when we were born, and the thought crossed my mind a few times, and not trying to get too political with
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
but if you want to have dreams and goals and desires, there's no other place other than the United States of America, hands down. It doesn't matter who's in charge, you're always going to have a better opportunity here.
Yeah.
Going back over there where, for face value, it looks great. Oh, we're going to go to the Cafeño. Oh, we're going to go to the beach today. Oh, we're all going to go out at night. Yeah, that's great, but,
Making it a living.
making a living's going to be tough. Being able to have kids, and then what kind of life are you going to have for your kids? You want them to fulfill their dreams to their fullest. Over here, you can be whatever you want. You can screw up bad, go
Come back.
broke, and come back.
In a perfect world, I would split it.
Split it, 6 months, 6 months.
Maybe, yeah, something like that. So that if I were to have kids, I would want them to actually go through the school system there. But I would want them to have a chance to actually go to college here, get a job here, and all that. Because they're not going to be able to do that there.
what I noticed is generation comes, another generation comes, generations keep on going, but then you start losing the Greek customs, the Greek traditions, the culture. They don't speak the language. They don't celebrate, the traditions like the older generations do. Are you guys afraid of that?
I think
Becoming Americanized, or whatever you want to paint, however you want to paint it.
I think that's a reality that all of us as Greek Americans need to face, look in the eye, and say this is correct. And there's nothing wrong with assimilating into American culture.
Not at all. Yeah.
I think that it's crucial to be an American is to assimilate into American culture, but not for nothing. America was called the Great Melting Pot for a reason. Everybody from all over the place was allowed to come here under the right circumstances and be here and thrive, and to celebrate their culture, their religion as they saw fit. Of course, with the way things are and the rapid speed of technology and information and everything through the internet, it's tougher to do that. And I know for myself, right, growing up, we didn't have the Instagrams and the Facebooks and everything. So the only real social interactions we had was going to Greek school, going to church, going to Greek dance during the week. And that was like our social life. But now, I feel like parents are giving kids more options. I remember I was on the soccer team, for instance, and we had practice every day of the week after school, but I missed practice 3 days out of the week because I had to go to Greek school and Greek dance. So needless to say, I was never a starter. Obviously, I was not that good at soccer to begin with, but missing practice didn't really help. But because my parents saw that it was more important for me to learn the language, learn the culture, learn the religion, and to hold on to that. I think what we're doing, I can only speak for myself and Stacy, and what we do with our dance group is that we have people that come. We have some people that are first generation, like myself and Stacy. Then we have second and third generation people that are coming, but there's no discouragement there, and we offer them an opportunity to participate in their culture, and we encourage them to come and be part of their culture. Earlier we were talking about the competition that we went to. One of the things that we did, we had to learn to sing and dance at the same time. So it was a tradition from a very traditional village, in Drama, but what I really enjoyed was the fact that we saw some people who, one, didn't know Greek dancing up until about a year ago, and two, didn't even know the language up until about a year ago, to going now to
Singing it perfectly.
Singing it perfectly.
It's amazing.
Singing perfectly. Phonetics, pronunciation, everything perfect. And, for me, yeah, sure, I can grab the paper and sing it, or I think I can sing it. I don't know. I don't really have that good of a singing voice. But the immense pride that I felt seeing it and watching them do it, I know Stacy can pick up a paper and read it and recite it perfectly, no problem. But then just like, it's the second, the third, and sometimes even fourth generation kids watching the passion that they put into it and knowing that they love this. So for me, it's a beacon of hope saying like, hey, these guys, they care. They want to do this. And, you start seeing now in some of these Goyas and whatever happens with these youth ministries, some of these churches, they're kids of people that were born here, and they are passionate about it. They really are, and they love it. And I think so long as we promote that it's a fun, welcoming environment, people will come back to it. But us, the older generation, us who have lived this stuff and done these things, we're the ones that need to stoke those flames to keep this thing going. Otherwise, it's burnt out and it's done. And that's important.
And that's what I talked about with you guys, holding that tradition and holding the culture and the customs. And you talked about going to Greece and the opportunity here compared to Greece. My grandfather once said when he was in Greece, they told me in America, the streets were paved with gold. Mm-hmm. When he came here, he realized that the streets were paved with something better. They were paved with opportunity.
Correct.
He said they lied to me.
Yeah.
It was better.
Yeah.
So that was one of my favorite quotes from my grandfather, even though he passed when I was young. But nonetheless, like that, this is my grandfather's, right? So you have the lira, all these different things in which you pass down to your kids, whatever. That's how you keep traditions. You pass down this, you pass down that, whatever the case is. One thing I want to talk about is you talked about Greeks carrying on traditions, second generation, third generation, fourth generation. Now, when it comes to dating Greeks and dating non-Greeks, how does that factor into the equation?
I think that also ultimately comes down to the individual and what they're willing to accept and not accept. I'll be totally transparent. I dated Greek, I dated non-Greek, and there was some ease that went into it in some aspects with dating Greek, and there was some ease going into it not dating Greek. When you date Greek and you have to go meet parents, there's
Tough.
ultimately that expectation right off the bat, especially when you're a young Greek guy, fathers kind of give you the awkward eye.
It's tough, man.
It's tough. It's tough. What are your intentions with my daughter? That's some real stuff. They look at you all awkward.
It takes a while for them to,
Yeah.
I agree.
lighten
There's
up,
pros and cons.
warm up.
There's
Yeah.
pros and cons.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I mean, especially for me, having lived there, my parents basically only speak Greek to me, I only speak Greek to them. It is a lot easier, but it wasn't when I was looking, I wasn't just looking for that. As long as they're
Open-minded.
a nice person, that's all that matters.
I also
It
think
is
it's a lot
easier.
different when you're a guy.
It is a lot different, personally.
Yeah.
So what I realized is, look, I grew up under mother that was Puerto Rican and dad that was Greek. What I will say is my dad was always busy, right? So I didn't get passed down everything that you guys got passed down. So I'm a little different. I'm more Americanized.
Never too late.
Oh, I know. I still try, right? I still go to every Greek festival. I still go to all the Greek events. My cousin's daughter, she's at St. Demetrius, and she does everything, right? She's involved in all of it, and I always come visit, show up, whatever the case is. So, I'm there, but it is different, right? Because you guys are fully Greek compared to me. I'm a half-breed, whatever the case is. It's a little bit different. What I will say is when it comes to dating a Greek versus a non-Greek, like you said, I've done both. I've never dated a Greek, but I've dated people from the Mediterranean, which
Right.
share similar cultures, right? Where they were lived over there, whatever the case is. So I saw the difference, and I know what I personally would prefer. I don't know what you think, but I lean towards the Mediterranean aspect because they can relate to me.
Right.
It's a little bit different.
There's a lot
whereas-
of cultural similarities,
Yeah,
a lot of overlapping,
exactly.
and stuff like that. Yeah.
So what was your experience? You said it's different for a guy.
Well, I mean, of course it's different for a guy because, when you're a guy, your parents aren't going to really hound you about a lot of
Yeah,
the things that
it's
you're
true.
doing.
I think it's easier.
It's 1,000% easier. I mean, now watching my sister, I was pretty lenient. I didn't really kind of give her the business.
Big brother.
My brother gave her the business.
Yeah.
My brother definitely gave her the business, but I
Overprotective.
he was definitely way more overprotective than me. But I mean, there's an age difference between us, so
Okay.
I kind of was just too busy off doing my own thing either way, going to Bouzouki or whatever with my buddies. But no, there's definitely a difference. Even some of my friends growing up who were Greek and girls, it was a nightmare for them hearing the stories I had to sneak out to do this, or I had to make sure of this.
Yeah.
Wearing the clothes that they wanted to wear out underneath sweaters.
I know. how it
Cracks
goes.
me up because it sounds so ridiculous, and I'm just walking in and out of my house, no problem. I'm not saying my parents didn't give me a hard time, but I think when you're younger, because everybody knows, it's just puppy love nonsense. But when you start to get a little bit older, even the non-Greek parents are like, all right, what's happening here? What's taking place? And you kind of got to lay it all out on the table and say, what am I willing to accept and what am I not willing to accept? And there's no right answer.
Of course.
There's no right answer because when it comes
Everyone's
to matters,
different.
when it
Yeah,
comes to
everybody's
matters of the heart, that's all that matters. And
Our
it's only
DNA
between the two of individuals.
Everybody's DNA is different. Everybody's
Correct.
different.
Correct. Yeah. So I think that it's all a matter of what you feel inside and then what you're willing to put up with. Because if that person is open to accept your culture, amazing. That's great. That's a beautiful thing. And likewise, you should be willing to accept someone else's culture
Yeah,
if
of
it's
course.
different than yours. And then, to me personally, I think that makes you a more well-rounded individual.
You got to be open-minded.
Correct.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's what I say. Just be
If
open-minded.
you're like this, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah, it's true. I know. So, I was going to talk about something, but now it kind of drifted away. I forgot. but we have some other things I wanted to talk about. So you said Greek going into your 40s now. We talked about 20s, we talked about 30s, we talked about dating, whatever the case. Now you're going into your 40s. How's that?
For the record, I am not Stacy.
Yes, yes.
Definitely not. Not yet.
She's a ways away. Just so everybody
I'm
understands.
a ways away too, okay? I'm 26. I'm a ways
Enjoy
away.
it.
I got some
Enjoy it.
time.
You start to look at things a little bit differently, and it's been a recurring topic of what I've been saying today. It's, what's your role in everything? And I went from being a active participant in doing all these fun events and whatnot to now looking at it from an outsider's view, not so much outside of the community, but outside of participating, and doing everything I can to make sure that everything that I enjoyed in my teens and 20s and 30s, that people like Stacy and younger have the opportunity to enjoy, being able to participate in everything that we did. And I know we said earlier, like, oh man, there's like no more Greek nights. Man, they were the best nights we ever had, going out.
Damn, I missed out.
It was great. It was awesome, But then still putting together these awesome events and like doing all these great things. When we go out like to Zesties or whatever, and Ilias playing, strumming away on bouzouki, that's awesome. You like to see it, And that's a little bit of something that we had then that they're still doing today. So me now in my life, I want to make sure that everybody that I know who I'm associated with has ample opportunity to get out there and do that, which is why I like to give as much time as I can, whether it be for our society, our dance group, or whether like the church needs something to help out. There's no reason why not. And I think more people in my age demographic should take that up, especially with the fact that they're all having young kids. You want to take your kid to Greek school, well, make sure the Greek school is still there. You want to take your kid to church, make sure the church is still there.
Yeah. Contribute.
Yeah. I'm not saying just with, financially, but give time. Do things where it needs to be, I got to say, another thing that I was really proud of is with, the Macedonians.
Love the sweatshirt, by the way.
Yeah, got to represent.
I know.
Got to represent. I've had this sweatshirt for a long time. I'm surprised it's still intact. But good quality.
Good
yes.
quality.
Real good quality. Don't know who makes it. Gildan or something, maybe. But I'm really proud of, these young guys in Macedonians right now, because we practice at St. George Media, and every time they have a festival, we go, and not only do we go and perform, but we volunteer at the festival as well to help alleviate some of the requirements that the church might need. Plus, we make a great time out of it. Most of the time we're just
fun.
working at the bar.
We are the party.
Yeah, we just go
You bring the
there,
energy.
party.
You talked about it. He brings the
Exactly.
energy.
But people see that, and it gets translated out more. And like, wait a minute, that's a fun group of people, and they're being Greek and they're enjoying it. I want to do that too. And I can't tell you how many people we've had come up. How do I do this? How do I come? And so like, I encourage a lot of that. I think it's fun. I have a great time doing it. I would love to see some of the guys and girls that I grew up with back then to come and get involved as well, and kind of like relive all those things. I know it's tough with
Everyone's
wives
busy,
and
but
kids.
yeah,
Everyone's
I get
busy,
it.
sure, but
It's about trying to make time for it.
make time. Don't forget where you came from.
Yeah, that's
And
perfect. Don't forget your roots,
don't forget 'em, man.
And we talked about, the original thought I had in question, remember I drifted away, came
Yeah.
back.
All right.
So what is it like living under Greek parents? The strictness, all of that. You talked about it a little bit. Get both perspectives, because like you said, it's different from a male and different from a female.
Sure.
I mean, I don't think my parents were that strict. I still got to do everything I wanted. Every time we would go to Greece, I was never around my parents.
Yeah.
I don't see my parents ever.
But how about here?
Here,
It was
when
different.
I was living with them, they were just my roommates, honestly.
Yeah.
I did everything I wanted to do. They got me when I couldn't drive still. They would take me everywhere I wanted to be.
That's good.
I have no complaints from my parents, except for that one time
That one time.
when I wasn't allowed to sleep over, someone that lived down the street from me. But we got to it. I was let eventually.
Growing up, because my parents were so strict, not like overbearing strict, but they were strict. They didn't let us do certain things, and it's frustrating. And you're like, oh, my mom and dad, they're giving it to me. I can't
Damn it.
understand it. Piss me off, whatever. And you always say, I can't wait till I get the hell out of here. I'm gonna
Can't
go
wait
live
to
on
get
my
a
own."
car. Yeah.
And it's the weirdest thing because now I'm at my parents' house like 6 days a week. I just
you
keep coming
miss them.
back. Well, it's nice. You go home. It's like, they're cool. We're just hanging out, talking. I mean, for my work, I'm on the road all day long, and my dad's on the road too. So I call him and I BS with him during the course of the day. He tells me where he's at, and just catch up, talk about a few things. I told him I was coming here today.
Yeah?
He was
What'd
so
he say?
excited.
That's
He was so
awesome. I love
excited.
it.
Yeah, he loves your papu, by the way.
I know,
Yeah.
I know. Dude, every time I go to see him at the festivals, whatever the case is, St. D's, and I see him, he always tells me a new story about my papu. Like, and some crazy ass stories.
Yeah.
Steve knows. But yeah, it's amazing hearing them and reliving them, especially like every time I go, it's a new story, whether it's from your dad
Yeah.
or someone else or this person, that person. It's always a new story and talked about, his passion and how like straight he was, but also like he had a temper and all these different things,
Made him interesting.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's so beautiful.
It is.
It's so beautiful, man. It's so beautiful.
It is beautiful. And like, you think about that, right?
All the time.
There's a whole group of people who know your dad, know your uncle, know your papu.
I know.
And like your name carries a lot of weight because people knew those guys and they
know.
were straight up guys. They
I
were
know.
good guys.
It's true. And I go there, they're like, how's your dad? How's
Yeah.
your uncle? I haven't seen him in a long this, that, whatever the case is. And it's reinvigorating. It reinvigorates the soul, and it's just amazing to go back. In fact, after I went, I think, to church one of the days, I had a dream. Or before I went to church, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was going to be New Year's. I had a dream where it was my papu, and we're both at St. D's, right? And he comes walking over to me, and he goes, "You're always here at these festivals. What are you doing?" He asked me. And it was just like little stuff like that. I don't know, what does it mean? I don't know. But I woke up, I'm like, oh, I'm definitely going to church today.
There you go.
know what I mean?
There
But
you
like
go.
little stuff like that, it's amazing, it's heartwarming, whatever you want to call it.
Exactly.
It's
exactly.
beautiful.
And there is a beautiful thing for that too. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Absolutely.
I have a couple more questions before we go.
Sure.
So when did you guys both meet? When did you guys,
I've known him my whole life.
Yeah, it's been
your
a
whole
long
life?
time.
Really?
I mean, you could try to carbon date it. I can't do it. I don't remember.
Wow.
The way I remember it, there was just Stacy there. I
I
knew
was born.
Stacy's sister Nula from when we were younger growing
okay.
up, and I just remember Stacy being there too.
Yeah. It's a long time.
Long time.
So how does that play into your dance group and everything? The chemistry, whatever the case is.
Well, it translated pretty well to me because Stacy knows me. Stacy's father, my father know each other. I know her sister, so there's like a different path that like Stacy can come up to me and say something to me straight. There's no like.
Whereas if I go, it's like a little bit different.
Yeah, a little bit different.
He doesn't
Stacy-
get offended.
I
He's
don't
not
get
allowed to get offended.
Yeah, I'm not. Stacy
Yeah.
can just shoot it straight with me. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. That's good though. You need
It's
that type,
great,
especially
yeah.
when it comes to the competition you're talking about.
Right.
All of those things, you need those type of relationships, right? When someone comes new to the dance group, right? What is it like bringing them in and integrating them in?
It's funny you say that. We actually had a new guy come last night, and he's very fresh to the culture in general. And I think the best thing to do, especially and it's just human nature, when people try something new and they're like not exactly the best at it, and you can see them kind of get frustrating. Best thing to do is just hit them with some encouragement, like, "Hey, you're doing great, man. You're doing great. Don't stop." And for me, that's the best part. Like, "Oh, you really think so? Oh, you really think so?" Another guy that we have now, he's been coming for like 2-3 months. He started off, you could tell he was getting a little bit frustrated, a little bit discouraged, and just, "Hey, man, you're killing it. You're doing really good." And just,
You got to start from somewhere.
you got to start from
Everyone.
somewhere. Yeah.
No matter what you do in life, it doesn't matter whether it's that or, like I talked about how I was the quietest kid in school, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously you build skills. The more you do something, the better you get.
Yeah.
So every Monday he shows up for 3 months, he's going to get better. You're going to start off sucking, man. I'm just going to be honest. Not always, but a lot of times you're going to start off like a little shaky,
Yeah.
But once you get that encouragement, you have the community that helps you and builds you and, really develops you and helps you. I think that's what it's about.
The good thing about it is, like, okay, we said we went to competition or whatever, but it's not like we're out here scoring goals or doing whatever. So it's not like, oh, you're the captain of the team or whatever. Everybody's just there encouraging each other on. And it's an expression of art and culture. So it's like, hey, man, do it. Let me see you do it. You got it. Oh, that's amazing. And
It's supposed to be fun.
It's just a good time. It's like a party.
It's like a
We
party.
have a party.
He brings the energy. I told you.
We have a good time, you know?
All right. I have a question. When it comes to Greek food, right?
Uh-huh.
Obviously, I'm biased. You guys are probably biased. Usually, Italy ranks number one when it comes to like the national rankings, Taste Atlas. But this year, Greece took number one.
Yeah, we
Italy
got that
went
number
number
one
two.
spot.
You saw
Yeah,
that?
I saw it.
Yeah, man. So, tell me about the Greek food and tell me about how it compares to Italian and what your beliefs are. Obviously, I have my beliefs. Greek's the best. It's not even close.
I'm going to let Stacy go first on this
gonna
one.
let Stacy go
well,
first.
she's more
Well, she-
world-versed than I am.
She went to Spain. Spain, I think, ranked number 7.
Spain, I would say, doesn't. I think Greek cuisine is more plant-based and more just whole foods in general. Italy has a lot more like bread and pasta. I think Greek cuisine tries to use every single vegetable, and they're all cooking for that season of that vegetable. Like, you're not going to be making, like, I don't know, a Greek salad in the middle of winter. That's a summer thing. They try to stay in season, and I actually think eating like that is the reason why we're rated one of the long-living.
We have a blue zone.
Yeah, we do have
Right.
a blue zone.
And I think that plays a part of it. And I also believe that we eat at the right time. Spain, I think the food is a little too heavy sometimes, and they're eating really late at night. I know people, especially in the blue zones, they wake up maybe 4 a.m. They won't eat, they'll just have a coffee. And then after they're done their morning walk or even go to work, then they go eat a light lunch, maybe breakfast at that point still, and then take a nap. And when they wake up, then they do something that's actually high in activity, and then they have a light dinner. I don't think I can think of one food that is heavy for us other than like a pasticcio.
Yeah, it's a little heavier.
Other than
Or our
that,
sweets.
that
Which
too.
is really good.
They're the best. but they are a little like, sweet, But one thing that you talked about waking up, having just coffee, right? I do that all the time.
It's good.
But there's a certain thing, right? You see it online. People talk about the European breakfast, and it's just coffee and a cigarette. You've ever seen it?
Yeah.
Dude, it cracks me up every time I see stuff like that.
I know. Isn't it hilarious?
know.
Over here, we're having big greasy eggs and bacon and
Right.
grits with
I know.
coffee and a cigarette.
Totally
there.
different.
Yeah.
All right. So, last final thoughts. Anything you want to say? Where can we reach you guys? Social medias, whatever the case is.
You can reach us on social media. I'll give you obviously my tag so you can get me. You can get Stacy's as well. You can hit us up on Instagram, Facebook, whatever it might be. If you have any questions about getting involved in our culture and our community, if you just want to kind of come and learn about things, gladly sit with you guys and talk to you. I have no problem with that. Our doors are always open whenever we have practice on Monday nights. Please join.
I got to start coming.
My only rule, and I only have one rule if you're coming, you're not allowed to sit. You got to participate.
I love
That's
that.
it.
You got to get involved.
Got to get involved.
I love it. Any
Why
closing
not?
thoughts? Anything else?
What's that?
Any other closing thoughts? Anything you want to talk about specifically? Any subjects?
You mentioned the food and like Greek cuisine being
Yeah.
number one. I know a lot of people like see the commercialized, gyros, souvlaki,
Yeah, of
loukoumaz
course,
and stuff
yeah.
like that. But then like you get down to some
Deeper.
like deep, like you go into a village in Greece and like, Yaya's over there cooking. She has like kota me patates sto furno or whatever. Chicken and potatoes in the oven for those who don't speak Greek. Yeah.
The people are like so lost when you
Yeah,
just said
like,
that.
what
You
did
said
you
it
say?
too fast.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. But they're making good, clean food. It's like everything they get from where they're at. My father's father was a fisherman, and he worked as a fisherman for many years. Then when he retired, the whole other side of our house, he had his bakse, he had his garden, he had a thermokippo, which is a greenhouse. And that's what he would do all day, is he would grow vegetables. I remember being a kid sitting there pulling carrots out of the ground.
That's awesome.
Yeah, plucking figs off of the
You
trees.
appreciate the food
You
more
do.
when
You
you know
do.
where it's coming from.
Of
You do.
course, yeah.
And what was really awesome about it is that all of the guys that he worked with, the majority of them, their sons went and became fishermen as well. At one point, a long time ago, he had fallen, he broke his hip, he was in the hospital, and I had gone over there to take care of him for some time. And I'm there at the house, the keeper was right there, and I'm sitting there looking at it. And when we were younger, he'd always say, "Oh, take a picture of all this to show everybody in America." I didn't understand what he meant. I'm like, "What, you're going to show everybody in America your garden? Like, what the heck are you talking about?"
That's awesome.
Just take pictures in front of like a tree
Yeah,
or something.
and he didn't even pose or smile. He was just sitting there with the fiati, just doing his
That's
thing.
awesome.
And, you know, I have those pictures, though, and it's great, and I look at them every once in a while, but the point I want to get to is all those guys that he worked with, their friends were still fishermen, so they would come by the house. They didn't go to the markets or supermarkets to get like vegetables or anything.
It's fresh.
They came by my papu's house, and he would say, "Take a basket, go get what you need." They would bring him fresh fish, and they
Yeah.
would take what
Trade.
they wanted. So they were just
Yeah.
doing a barter system. It was great. And sometimes with a lot of those fish, my grandmother would get some octopus, and she would make soupies for us. Both my dad's parents, they were Pondians, so my yaya would also make berek for us, or yoja, as some of the Pondians would call it, yojades. So I would have yojades in the morning, I would have soupies in the afternoon for lunch, and man, they're both gone now, but I can't tell you, I'm sitting here still chasing that flavor, like how good it was.
You have it in your mind. It's like
It's
ingrained,
there.
stapled.
It's
Yeah,
It's just there.
yeah,
I
yeah.
love it, and I'm like, man, I wish I ate more of it.
Yeah, I know. And
Yeah.
that's how I feel now, right? So my grandmother, she's a little older now. My grandfather had passed, my great-grandfather. My grandmother, she's old. She's too old to cook now and
Right,
do
tough.
stuff. And we take care of her. But it's, when I was young, I didn't like a lot of Greek food, certain things, because I was like so used to this. And then I'd go over to my yaya's house, and I didn't want that. I wanted what everyone else was eating.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like when I was younger, lamb was too strong for me as a kid because it was just like a little gamey, whatever the case is. Smell, you go in, she's cooking it, you have the raw meat there, she's doing everything, right? So for me, when I was younger, it was a little too much. But as I got older, now it's my favorite.
Yeah.
And I wish, like when I was young, I wasn't like that, and I enjoyed it more. Obviously, you're young, you don't know. But now, like, I wish I could go back and just have it. Like,
I just love the amount of work they put into everything.
much.
Even like a jam, she'll be slaving away outside, 95 degrees outside,
Yeah.
just like over the fire, just making, jam out of the figs that she just plucked off the tree. I love that.
that's the way it should be, though. You know what I mean? And go ahead.
It's funny because, Stacy said that and just brought back another core memory. I remember my papu, my grandfather, just a cigarette dangling off his lip, and he's cleaning fish in the backyard
That's awesome. Yeah.
that all his buddies brought him. And it was so cool, just
Yeah.
seeing a lot of these things firsthand. And I think that also played a big role in us growing up here, because we kind of had that opportunity through our grandparents to almost have like a look back in time, to see the way things were then, and then now look forward. One of the things that like me and my buddies do now is like on Easter we all prepare the goat and the
Put
lamb,
on the roast.
and it's so
That's
cool.
awesome. I love that type of stuff. Man.
Yeah. You might have seen us in the Inquirer 2 years ago.
You were in the choir.
In the
I did not know this.
In the Inquirer, the Philly Inquirer.
I didn't know this.
Yeah, we were there. So my buddy Phil organized a tailgate party and decided that we were going to get a lamb. And I remember,
Shout out Phil.
Shout out Phil Vutakis, the man. So we went to his house 2 days prior, and we prepared the lamb on the spit.
That's
and
awesome.
We put the lamb
I
on the
love that.
spit.
Dude, I love
so we
that.
took a little bit of traditional Greek culture, threw it into a tailgate. It was so cool, and he organized. He got a DJ Mikey.
Shout out.
Shout out.
Shout outs.
Yeah, and it was just an awesome event. But that's it's just a great example of how we took Greek culture and tradition, and we incorporated it into what we did on everyday thing. Like over here, everybody over here, We love the Eagles. Go
He
Birds.
makes it both together.
Go Birds.
Super
Go
Bowl
Birds.
champions.
Super Bowl champs. Yeah.
Twice now. Last
2.
10 years.
Yay.
2. BTA. So yeah, we incorporated it. It was an awesome event. It was great, and everybody, what is that? What is that? And it was a lamb, but we were saying Brock Purdy at the time. So.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. So when it comes to like that stuff,
Yeah.
right? It's when you bring that type of culture, whatever the case is, and when it comes to the food and it comes to stories, all of that, I found myself now, I hang out with a lot of immigrants, whether it's Lebanese people
That's
or this
great.
or whatever the case is. I find that's where I'm at home, you know? And
Well,
see if,
similar.
yeah, very similar, right? And it's funny, I have a friend, his name's Chris Spiridan. I had him on, he's a Marine. I had an interview with him. He has some Greek in him, obviously. You can
Yeah.
tell a little name, but he's mostly Lebanese. But he still has that name that carries.
Right.
And I was talking to his mom, and he's like, yeah, whatever the case is, Lebanese, Greek, we're like two sides of the same coin. We talked about, they have what's called the debka, and obviously we have the Greek dancing, all of that, and they talk about the similarities. She's like,
Yeah.
yeah, we got it from the Greeks. And they talked about baklava. She was like, one more thing we took from the Greeks. And obviously there's a big like argument of who has that, whatever the case is. But like stuff like that, it's, you feel at home,
You do.
you know? You feel at home.
It's those cultural similarities that you find a place to bond with somebody. And, you know, it's they might say a word that we have, and it sounds so familiar. I know, like, we have keftedes. They call it kefte.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
you hear it, it's like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and
So similar.
you bridge that gap. And I think that's a beautiful thing, really. And, you know, being able to say, oh, wait, you guys do that too? And it's awesome.
It's like they have lukumades, right?
Yeah.
Over there, but they call it something else. And then I took my, I have a Syrian friend too. I brought him to the Greek festival one day, right?
Nice.
At St. D's, and they were making a lukumades. And then I showed him to him, like, you ever have these, whatever the case is? He's like, dude, we have the same thing, but, you know, I had the nuts on top of this, whatever. He's like, we just didn't have the nuts, whatever the case is. He's
Yeah.
like, this reminds me of being home. And to me, like, that was awesome, you know?
Absolutely.
Little stuff like that,
Sure.
you know? So have you been to Italy? All right, how would you rate, or similarities-wise, Italy and Greece? They say una faccia una razza, mia faccia mia razza. So, like, you know, how would you relate those two?
Personally, I think we're more similar to Spanish people than we are to Italian
Wow,
people.
interesting. That's interesting. You don't hear that ever.
I just feel like we're a little bit warmer and more welcoming.
Yeah. Interesting.
That's what I think.
Wow.
But we do look very similar.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we do. We have, especially southern Italy
Yeah.
and all of that. Like I said, una faccia una razza. Any other stories? Because I'm curious to hear these stories. I want to hear them.
Well, it's actually, you know, funny what Stacy just said about, like, you know, Italy. One of my good buddies, he's Italian, my buddy Dave. I'm actually repping his shirt in here.
You got both on. That's
yeah,
awesome.
I'm repping everybody. Terranova Fence, yeah. But, you know, he speaks some Italian words to me, and you hear some stuff like, wait, that sounds really familiar. So I think the whole, like, una faccia, una razza, it's definitely there. Probably a little bit more like Southern Italians.
Yeah, that's what I
you know.
said.
Yeah,
yeah.
like Sicilian.
Yeah, a little bit closer. You know,
I want to go to
Magna
Sicily.
Grecia, so
Never been.
yeah, and it's cool. So, like, you know, I like to see the similarities with cultures. I think it's beautiful.
I think it
obviously
is.
you can get that all the way around the Mediterranean. So because everybody overlapping. Yeah.
And plus, we've been everywhere, right? Everybody's been every back forth. There's trading routes, everything. You know what I mean? So it's like you see the similarities all throughout. Anything else you guys want to talk about? Or are we good wrapping up?
I'm good.
I mean, I think that's good.
That's good. Perfect.
When am I going to see you next? I'm going to see you at the parade, looking all sharp.
When's the parade?
April 6th.
April, of course.
Yeah,
Of course.
good.
I'll be there.
I'm going to be wearing blue.
Are you
Well, what
dancing
am I
with
going
us?
to be wearing?
Yeah, are you going to be dancing with us?
That's the question, right? I'm probably not. I'm not going to be honest. But I will come one of these Mondays.
You should.
I have to.
You good.
I need to.
You should.
Because I haven't
You should
been.
come.
It's been a long time. When's the last time I went? When's the last time?
I think it was the spring.
Spring.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
Oh
I
yeah,
gotta
we
come.
were sitting outside. At one
Yeah, we
point,
went
and
out
it was nice
afterwards.
out.
got
Yeah,
some
we
drinks.
did.
Yeah.
What was that place called again?
Townhouse.
Townhouse. Yes,
Yeah.
Townhouse. That was a
The
nice time.
hangout.
It was good.
The old watering hole.
I know.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you guys so
Man,
much.
thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stacey.
Thanks for
Thanks,
having
Steve.
us.
Appreciate you guys.